The easy thing to do is to get bitter, but it gets you nowhere. So have a think about that for yourself. How could your performance be even better? And how could your performance be lifted if you live by that phrase? Don't get bitter, get better. Hi, and welcome to Helping You Perform. I'm your host, Paul Teasdale. Over a career working with high-performing teams from across the globe, including 7 years working with Formula One team McLaren, I've learned a lot about what it takes to drive results. In this weekly podcast series, I'm going to be bringing you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One that you can apply to your organisation for your high performance. Enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Helping You Perform, where I bring my tips, tricks, insights and stories into the world of F1 and beyond to ultimately help you accelerate your own performance. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode 66, where the second in this series of quotes and phrases that I've picked up over the years that for me epitomise high performance. And that episode was all about decisions at the point of most knowledge. So if you haven't had a listen to that episode, go back, have a listen. It's only a few minutes long, like a lot of these short Helping You Perform episodes are. But it talks about where are the decisions being made in your organisation and what value could it be to you and your team and your organisation if you thought about decisions being made at the point of most knowledge. Now this week, I want to reflect on one of my favourite phrases. This is something that I use to this day. I sort of fall back on this in hard times and when I need to reflect. I also use it with my kids quite a lot, and I use it in work circumstances as well. And the phrase is, don't get bitter, get better. Now, I love this partly because it's so short and snappy, and I love the sound of it, the way it sort of rolls off the tongue. But also for me, it epitomizes that element of where do I need to sort of focus my energy, and what benefit will it get me for focusing my energy on being bitter versus focusing the energy on getting better. Now, when I first joined McLaren, they were at the back of the grid. They were really struggling. They had that Honda engine that they weren't able to do anything with in a meaningful way that got them any points or anywhere really in terms of performance. And instead of that view of when the results aren't going your way and everything seems to be the world is throwing all this bad vibes at you and bad karma, instead of focusing that energy to say, woe is me, these engines are terrible, that's terrible, this is happening, my competition have got it so much easier, all of that is negative energy that gets you nowhere. So the organization was focusing on how do we get better and how do we use our energy. This is where we're at the moment. That's reality. We're not going to change that. How can we use our energy in such a way it's going to get us back to where we want to be, on the front of the podium, on the top of the podium, at the front of the grid, winning those races and dominating the sport. And, this comes back to sort of times for myself where things haven't been working out quite as well as I'd have hoped. Maybe there's been circumstances that were unforeseen or results that I didn't see coming my way. I'll give you an example. When we're living and working out in New Zealand, I knew the organisation I was working for was going through a restructure, and I knew that redundancies were happening across the organisation. I did not expect my role to be made redundant, but it was. And so at that point, I felt very hard done by. That first afternoon and evening when I sort of heard that news and was told that news, I sort of went home and felt, really dejected. I was feeling really sorry for myself. But I fell back on this phrase because I knew it was something that's always in the back of my head. And I thought, this is a circumstance where if I get bitter, it's not going to get me anywhere. But if I use this as an opportunity to get better, then things can only move on from there. And I'll often use this with my kids when, it's, everything's so unfair and that person's got this. And, I was playing sport and somebody bowled a ball at me, and it was unfair that this happened, and they were very lucky, and it's not, that point doesn't count, and all the rest of it. So I use this to get my kids to think about, don't get bitter in those moments. That's happened, that's gone, it's been and gone. Try and think of ways to get better so that those circumstances don't happen again in future, or if they do, you're able to sort of put yourself in a better position for performance. So like all of this series, I want you to have a think about that little phrase for yourself. Maybe lodge it in the back of your brain, pick it out at those times when it's really, the world is feeling like it's sort of raining down on you with all this negative energy. Maybe your organization has had something sort of thrust upon it. Maybe a new competitor's come in, or somebody has done something, or a sale has fallen through that you were relying on. Maybe it's your team's performance was impacted by another team doing something that you had no control over. And the easy thing to do is to get bitter, but it gets you nowhere. So have a think about that for yourself. How could your performance be even better? And how could your performance be lifted if you live by that phrase? Don't get bitter, get better. As always, I'd love to hear how this is impacting you and your teams and your organisation, your own performance. So do contact me through the website. Go to paulteasdale.co.uk, drop me a message through there. Let's have a free 30-minute chat where I just want to know more about your performance and your challenges, and if and how I can support. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Helping You Perform podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, share, or review the podcast. You can reach out to me at any time, either through LinkedIn or through my website at www.paulteasdale.co.uk. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.